Welcome to another Listener into Lead podcasting tip, where I'll be sharing 30 tips on how coaches can begin to nurture listeners into leads while positioning themselves as a trusted authority with their very own podcast. Want to get leads and business from your podcast? You're in the right place. Hi, this is Anne-Marie. Welcome to another Listener into Lead podcast tip for coaches and consultants who want to launch a podcast to nurture listeners into leads, get clients, and build their business with their podcast. This is tip number 12. Now, have you ever asked yourself the question, how can I make sure my podcast stands out? And if you have, you're not the only one. We've all asked ourselves that question. So my answer today is going to address that question. And there are a lot of ways that you can make sure your podcast stands out. But boiled down to the simplest of responses, the shortened answer is this. If you want your podcast to stand out, make sure it is outstanding in every way possible. This includes from being clear on what makes you unique and uncopyable in terms of your personal brand, your message, your story, the content that you share on your podcast, right through to the unique and uncopyable listener experience that you create as the host of your podcast, right through to the topics that you share on your show, the guests that you invite to interview on your podcast. All of those things need to be unique and uncopyable and different from what other people are doing. Because if your podcast and the topics you speak about and the way in which you bring this information to life, the listener experience is the same old that everyone else is doing, it's not outstanding, your podcast will not stand out. In fact, sadly, it's probably going to get lost in the millions and millions of other podcasts. Now, if you're interviewing the same guests as everyone else, even some of the celebrity people that, people chase, asking the same sort of questions and they're sharing the same sort of stories as they do on every other podcast, guess what? It's not going to stand out. And as a change maker with a message that will literally transform and bring real change to your ideal client's life and or business, whatever area that your expertise is in. And I know that's not what you want. You do not want to be the same as everybody else and have a podcast that sounds like everybody else. You are not born to fit in, to be like everyone else. You, your story, your expertise, and how you can help your ideal clients is meant to stand out. It's meant to be outstanding. So make sure you continue to listen to the rest of the tips that I have for you in this Listener into Lead podcast series. They matter for you to be outstanding, to be unique, uncopyable, and irresistible to your ideal client. I'll see you in the next tip. Do you feel like the world's best kept secret and thinking about starting a podcast to build your visibility and reach? Or maybe you've started a podcast but you're just not generating the results you'd hope for. Go ahead and access my profitable and purposeful podcasting masterclass, where I'll show you how, with the right strategy in place, you can begin to nurture listeners into leads from your very first episode. Go to www.podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead. That's podcastingwithpurpose.com/listener into lead.